My name is Hunter Mallon. Today's December 15th, and I'm interviewing my mom, Laura Mallon. So, what is your full name, and why did your parents select this name for you?
My name is Laura Marie Nolan Mallon. And Laura was chosen because the year I was born, there was a very popular song called Tell Laura I Love Her. And my brother loved that song, so he convinced my parents, to choose that name. Before that, my mother wanted to name me Georgia, and I'm always thankful that my brother loved Tell Laura I Love Her, because I'm not crazy about the name Georgia.
Where were you born?
I was born in Hartford, Connecticut, and at the time, my family lived in Enfield, Connecticut.
And when were you born?
When was I born?
Mm-hmm.
I was born on August 11th. Do I have to say the year?
No, you don't have to. How did your family come to live in Hartford eventually after Enfield?
My parents got divorced, and my mother, my brother, and my two sisters and I moved to Hartford to live with my grandparents, and we lived in the West End of Hartford.
When did you move there, though?
We moved there in probably 1963, maybe.
Okay. Were there other family members, like, aunts or uncles, someone like that in the area, or was it just you guys?
Well, my mother is an only child, so she didn't have any siblings, but my father's family a lot of them lived in New Britain. So my other grandmother and two aunts and one uncle lived in New Britain. And we saw them regularly.
It was a house, right?
What house?
The house in Hartford?
No, we lived in an apartment that was temporary, and then we moved across the street to another a large apartment. It was 7 or 8 rooms with 4 bedrooms, and we lived there for maybe 10 years. And then, okay, go ahead.
What was that like? What was the house itself like?
Well, actually, it was a barn. And there was a dancing school on the bottom, and then our apartment was up on the top. And we also, there was also an art studio. An artist had an art studio there. He was a very famous artist, by the way. And so that was great. We had a huge backyard and front yard, and that was a great place I loved living there.
Was there anything, like, any special things in that house that you remember? Or something, like a radiator or something, the TV? I don't know.
Yes, the radiators would be, we had tall radiators, and if they would get so hot you would burn yourself if you bumped into them. So you had to be very careful about that. And another thing that I thought of this last night when we were decorating our Christmas tree, we didn't have a fireplace. And my grandfather bought a cardboard fireplace we put in the living room. And it was cardboard, red brick with, of course, fake flames. And we put that in the living room, and we hung our stockings from the fake fireplace.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
What was what was your earliest childhood memory, as far back as you can go?
Well, probably when we lived in Enfield, and this is crazy, I always thought it was the day they brought me home from the hospital, that I was eating a ham grinder and an orange soda. But it was the day they brought my sister home from the hospital, Auntie Mame. And I was 3 at the time, but I still don't believe I was eating a ham grinder and an orange soda when I was 3 years old. But I remember the baby And I always thought it was me. When I was little, I always thought it was me. I know.
Did you ever have any favorite games to play?
Oh yeah, well, when we lived in Hartford and we had the big, it was actually a parking lot. It was gravel, and we used to play kickball all the time, and we had these big, like almost beach ball sized balls that we would play kickball with, and we'd kick it and it would get stuck in the tree or get stuck on the roof, and we'd have to get somebody or wait for the wind to blow it down. But kickball was probably my favorite.
Did you play anything else?
Yep, we played hide and seek, but we would play it neighborhood wide.
Ooh.
And we would go like 10 houses up, but 2 blocks wide. So it took forever because you could never find anybody.
It's a big game.
Yeah, but the other thing too is there would be like 15 kids playing.
Yeah. And that was hide and seek?
Hide and seek, yep.
Damn. Did you ever have like any chores? And if so, like, did you have any favorites, least favorites, or?
Well, I'm sorry. Do you have any favorite chores?
You don't know.
But no. We would have to take out the trash from the yard and bring the trash cans out. Sometimes we didn't have to shovel the sidewalks because we had somebody to do it. But I would have to shovel like the steps to get in and out of the house.
Was that anyone's job? Whoever got yelled at to do it?
Yeah, you know what? I think it was like whoever was home had to do it. And I remember doing that, and I didn't mind doing that. But I know another thing. When we first moved into the big apartment, my grandmother would cook the dinner, but then my mother and my sisters and I would wash and dry the dishes. And while we were washing and drying the dishes, we played music. And we always played the Temptations, the Four Tops, and the Supremes. And we would all be singing and dancing while we were washing and drying the dishes and putting them away. And that was always, every time I hear like Baby Love from the Supremes or any early Temptations song, I always think, oh, that's my dishwashing song.
What was school like as a child?
I went to the Noah Webster School in Hartford. I went there from kindergarten through 8th grade. So I went to that school for 9 years. And I loved that school. I mean, there were many teachers that I just absolutely loved. My kindergarten teacher was Miss Musio, and I had her. My brother had her, and my younger sister, Auntie Mame, had her. And it was a great school. It was huge. Now it's a magnet school, but I think it's called the Webster Magnet School on Cone Street in Hartford.
What about high school?
Then, after 8th grade, we moved from Hartford to West Hartford, and I went to 1 year at Sedgwick Middle School. Sedgwick Junior High it was. And
for like 9th grade?
Just 1 year, yep. And I absolutely hated it. The only good thing about that was that I met my good friend Joan Rossi, who is still my good friend. And then after that, after 9th grade, then we went to Conard High for 3 years. And I didn't really care for that either.
And then that was it?
And that was it.
Okay, were there any, like, fads or, dress up, funky, suspenders, all that?
Not suspenders, but of course, probably starting, the Beatles, that was a big fad. I think that the Beatles came popular when I was probably in maybe 2nd grade. So then the boys started wearing longer hair, like the Beatles haircuts. And And then the girls started wearing their hair long and wearing clothes like hippies.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever fall into that?
Absolutely. And the other thing is, back to the Beatles. I was my whole family loved the Beatles. And we had Beatle wigs. We used to wear them. My sisters and I. We had Beatle pillows, Beatle wigs. There was a wallpaper store that we used to walk by on Whitney Street in Hartford, because we, walked to school, and they had Beatle wallpaper. And I was, oh my God, I wanted that so badly. Of course, I never got it. But I had Beatle cards, every album, the Beatle wigs, the pillows. We just had everything Beatles.
What were our holidays like?
Well, I mentioned the cardboard fireplace. And Christmas Eve, I don't remember doing a lot of things on Christmas Eve. Not like now, like when it's like two holidays, yeah. Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. I don't remember doing a lot of things on Christmas Eve when I was little. And then Christmas Day, we would wake up, and the first thing you would do was open your stocking, or empty your stocking. And in our stockings was always an apple, an orange, some walnuts, some nuts in the shells, and then we would have gifts too. Like I would have like powder or small gifts in the stockings. And that was always fun. And then we would open our presents. And I didn't realize this until I was an adult, when my sister told me that because my mom didn't have a lot of money, every Christmas, one kid would get a big item. And then the next year, another kid would get a big item. Like one year when I was in third grade, I got a record player and a whole bunch of records. Huh. And then another year, my sister I think she got her bedroom redone. So she got a new chair and accessories and a rug and bedding and stuff like that. And then the next year, my younger sister she got like a desk or something like that. But I never knew that when I was a kid. But the other, we all got presents, Yeah. Well, we would always get a bathrobe, a nightgown, slippers, a sweater. We'd always, and toys and stuff, We always got a lot of stuff, but not like you.
Yeah. What about other holidays during the year?
We always went to church on Easter, and then we'd come home and have Easter dinner. Thanksgiving was always a big deal. Of course, turkey, stuffing, everything like that. And every holiday, we would have onion dip and potato chips. And I still love that to this day. And the other thing, too, is on holidays, we always had soda. And other than that, we never had soda in the house. So that was a huge treat. We would get one, and I think in those days, they were quarts. We would get 1 quart of Coca-Cola, and it was like, whoa.
Have you have any recipes from any family members?
Well, I don't from my mother, because my mother didn't like to cook, and she isn't really a good cook. I hate to say that, but it's the truth, and she'll say it too. But one recipe I do have is my husband's grandmother, Lena Chillemi, who was 100% Italian. We were down at their beach house in Old Saybrook about 20 years ago. It was before Hunter was born. And I was down at the beach house on a Sunday morning, and she was making meatballs. And she showed me how to make her meatballs. And before that, I was making meatballs, but I thought they were good, but after she showed me how to make them, my meatballs are excellent. And she didn't show anybody else how to make the meatballs. So and I treasure that recipe.
There's no other recipes you could think of? Or is that about it?
That's about it. My mother-in-law has given me guidance on a lot of different recipes. I remember one time when I was dating my husband, and I wanted to make a dish that I had in recipes. In restaurants. And so I called her up one day and I said, can you teach me how to make brocchioli?
Brocchioli.
And she said, brocchioli? What's that? And I said, it's the meat cutlet that's stuffed and rolled and then in tomato sauce. And she said, oh my God, it's brajol. It's like, oh my God. So she told me how to make it, and I make that now, and I make it very well. So when my husband calls me at the end of the day, he says, what's for dinner? And I say, brocchioli. I still call it brocchioli.
How'd you meet Dad?
At
the Whalers Bar?
Not at the Whalers Bar. My girlfriend and I had gone to a Whalers game, and my David had season tickets to the Whalers, and we met in Chuck's Steakhouse after the Whalers game. So I always say that I met my husband at a Whalers game, not at the bar, at the Whalers game.
Even though I say at the bar.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. What'd you do on dates?
We went to a lot of hockey games. Like I said, he had season tickets to the Whalers, and he also had season tickets to the New Haven Nighthawks. So we would go to hockey games, we'd go out to dinner, we went roller skating, and then we met in March, and then that spring he bought his first boat, so we would go on the boat almost every weekend.
Where and when did you get married?
We got married on June 22nd, 1991, and we got married at a church in West Hartford. It was my sister Kathy's church, and they allowed us to because we didn't go to church. They allowed us to the minister allowed us to get married there. And my two sisters were my bridesmaids, and my father-in-law was the best man, and Daddy's good friend Ed and another friend Ricky were ushers. And because my father had passed away, my brother walked me down the aisle.
What was your proudest moment as a parent? Oh, you have to think about it?
Because I have a lot of them.
Oh, okay.
I have a lot of proud moments.
Good.
I think one of my proudest moments was when you went to Camp Eagle Feather and you won the Director's Award. And I picked you up, and it was the last day of camp.
Ever. And,
you were a CIT after that.
Yeah.
But they didn't have the campfire the previous night because of weather. So they just had it for the campers. And so I was waiting for you in the parking lot, and you came running across, and I saw that you had an award. And I said, oh my God, you had been going to Camp Eagle Feather and the Rocky Hill School of Swimming since you were 2, and you had never won an award. And I thought to myself, before you got in the car, oh my God, he won an award. And I thought it was going to be for archery or like woodworking. And when you came with the Director's Award, which is the highest award you can get, and it was for your kind behavior, I was so proud of you. And I still am very proud of you. Didn't see you get that award. But you have the award. That's the most important thing. And I have the award, and I have a lovely picture of you accepting the award.
All right, well, that's it. Thank you very much, Mrs. Laura Mallon.
That's it?
Yes. All right, got all my questions, and thank you very much.
Thank you.